Let's now turn to the advisory. Our next guest brings 4 end of financial year strategies that can significantly reduce tax and assist with wealth creation as well. Well, that sounds positive. Roger Perrott joining us from Freshwater Wealth. Roger, welcome back. Goodness, are we almost at that time again when we're going to start to consider our tax? It's only next month, isn't it? We're midway through May. So let's begin then, perhaps how you can get the most out of this, beginning with super contributions. What do you need to consider in terms of tax?
Yeah, that's right. So I remember years ago trying to do tax returns, and you collect all the little receipts and things like that.
In the shoebox?
Yeah, in the shoebox, and they really don't add up to all that much. But there are a number of strategies that we can use to reduce tax, significantly larger than the old shoebox. I guess timing is the essence, like you say. We've only got 6 weeks, and a lot of the product providers don't close on 30 June. We've got to be well in advance of that to make those contributions or make use of these strategies, and potentially for people to get advice. In terms of the 3 types of contributions, one is where we claim a tax deduction. We can contribute up to $30,000. To your point, something to consider there, that if you are employed, your employer making contributions also makes up that cap. So if your employer is already contributing 10 and the cap's 30, you can only contribute the difference. But certainly if you aren't contributing up to the 20,000, you could either salary sacrifice or make a contribution and claim a tax deduction.
All right, so catch-up contributions? Personal contributions, but also remembering, of course, super can't be accessed until the preservation age. So, but do you need to get in now get this organised before June 30th, or can you let it lapse and then act?
Yeah, it's one of those things. The catch-up contribution's quite neat. That's a huge tax deduction. You can get up to $162,500 this year. So it's just a huge contribution. If you've got a balance under $500,000 and you haven't been contributing for the last 5 years, so that's the maximum amount. You may not be able to claim that much of a tax deduction, but that's the maximum. But you're absolutely right. We do need to get in early. A lot of the product providers turning up on the 30th of June and trying to make those contributions, it's just not possible. So It's really important to do the research, work out how much contributions you can make or how much you're eligible to make, and making those well in advance of those product deadlines.
All right, away from super then. Now, of course, you can claim on interest on investment loans, but you can actually prepay that.
That's right, yeah, exactly. So you can actually get up to 2 years worth of interest deductions in 1 year. So you can imagine at this time of the year, you've already paid 11 months, we're in May, so June will come, we'll have paid 12. And then you can pay next year's interest all in one go in June as well. So effectively you've got this year's interest payment plus next year's, but we're all putting it in this financial year. So you can get a really large tax deduction.
So up to 24 months?
Up to 24 months, yeah, into this financial year. And that's really well suited if you've either had a really high income this year, maybe a bonus, or you've sold an asset with a large capital gain, or maybe next year you've got a lower income, maybe you're retiring or what have you. It's really good to try and bring the tax deduction forward into this year, or the year that you've got a higher income. So yeah.
Now, if you do own an investment property, you can claim depreciation, of course. How do you actually work that out?
Yeah, that's right. Like I wouldn't imagine anyone really is into working it out. It's probably best you go to a
specialist.
We go to a quantity surveyor, and they draw up a depreciation schedule. Then they've got all the records there in terms of how they've come up with that figure for you. But certainly claiming depreciation is another way to get a significant tax deduction as well.
All right, now you're also saying timing is critical too, particularly if you're selling investments, and we often hear about tax loss selling, particularly of shares prior to June 30. What do you need to consider?
Yeah, like I think, I guess again, it depends in terms of your income. So if you've got a really high income this year, or maybe next year the income's lower, maybe instead of selling in June, maybe it's better just to defer it a little bit and sell in July. So the 2 benefits there is, one, you're pushing the potential capital gains tax for another 12 months. But the second thing is you're basically putting the capital gain into a lower income year, which is beneficial as well. So the thing to consider though, shares are not so much, because the difference between when you sell and you get the money is quite small. But I think a lot of people can make the mistake with selling property. You know, they sign a contract today to sell and say, oh, that's no problem, I'll get the money in 6 weeks, 1st of July. It's actually the date you sign the contract, not the date you receive the money. So something that's really important to consider is actually signing a contract, if you can, to sell a property on the 1st of July.
All right. Now, just before you go, the ATO always seems to be tweaking to try and crack down on, well, I won't say cheats, but maybe people trying to sort of fudge the system. They're doing anything this year that taxpayers should be aware of?
Look, I think the record keeping is like really, really important. Do you know what I mean? So if you're claiming a tax deduction, you've just got to make sure you've got the evidence, I guess, do you know what I mean, and the audit trail to show that you've paid it and it's a legitimate expense. So I think that's the main thing to consider there.